What's that sound?
Yeah. Okay.
The nerdy news segment brought to you by Keith, because Keith made the music. I usually say nobody. I'm gonna start saying Keith because Keith.
Shout out to Keith
Shout out
one
to
time
Keith.
in the nerdy news.
Shout out to Keith. Shout out to Keith, man. Hey, so we talked about Black Widow last episode. Today we're gonna talk about Loki because the finale dropped since our last episode. And Dane,
Man.
what we were saying, what we had hinted at, what we wanted so bad, but Marvel had thrown us for so many loops.
Sorta was wrong and sorta was right. Sorta was wrong and sorta was right. Mostly wrong though.
Jonathan Majors, aka Kang. Well, in this episode he was not Kang the Conqueror, but
no, he was not.
From what we have been given, he is a variant of Kang the Conqueror, but he was in this episode the guy at the end, he who remains, or if you are a fan of shoot, now I was down to make a joke. What's his name, Dane? He who remain.
He who remains.
I'm trying to think of Terrence Howard. You know how the Terrence Howard memes? He who remain.
Man.
But yeah, Loki.
Interesting that you say that. I'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
Interesting you brought him up.
Okay, don't forget what you're gonna say. The
Loki
finale saw Loki and Sylvie head into what they were described as the end of time. First of all, the opening scene, bro, with the Marvel Studios logo and all the different quotes that we've seen, the many different quotes of the MCU going through this time stream, kind of brought it back to like, dang, everything that we saw so far has come to this end point. And I see you making a face. Go ahead.
Now, I don't know what part it was, but I think maybe I might have misheard my wife. I misheard my wife all the time, and I got to do better about listening, actively listening. People in the committed relationships out there or marriages, make sure you just be better at active listening. I'm not doing good at that, but I need to do better. I thought I heard her say, I thought I heard Maya Angelou after the credits for the Marvel Studios, and I was like, where was Maya Angelou? Like, was she that was her voice?
Yes.
Okay. So she wasn't
from one of her speeches. They also had Nelson Mandela in there, so there's like kind of them mixing the MCU stuff with real history kind of stuff, which kind of goes back to episode 1 when you saw Loki jump out of the plane as DB Cooper, which was a real, like, not jumping out of the plane, but the DB Cooper event was a real event that happened as far as a guy hijacking a plane, never being seen again. So they kind of like to blend the reality part with the MCU kind of stuff. But the next big bad, though, that we are expecting after Thanos is Kang the Conqueror. For those that don't know, he's a time-traveling villain, foes of the Fantastic Four as well as the Avengers. And Jonathan Majors was cast as Kang the Conqueror a few months ago, and he was expected to show up first in Ant-Man 3. But here he was, the guy at the end of time. Obviously, I've heard a lot of people say things about Loki as far as not liking the ending because of the question of free will and the question of if he has been controlling everything so far, nothing that happened in the MCU means anything, because what the Avengers did, what all of our heroes have done so far, means nothing because they were essentially being controlled by Kang. Or in this case, he who remains. What do you think about that?
Anybody that stepped out of line was snatched up and was like, hey, my boy, you messed up the space-time continuum, you messed up the flow of time, come with me. And he's not wrong. And at that particular moment, it was kind of cool to see, and I'm just jumping ahead of myself, it was kind of cool to see like actual conviction from Loki. Like the light bulb came on, I was like, wait a minute, this ain't right, bro. Like, this ain't right type of deal. So my thing is now, what does that, how, I want too many questions, but the first of many is, how is that going to change his interactions? How is it going to change his motives in season two, because of course, if you watch the post credits, you know that
Mm,
season two is gonna is it's a thing. So when it picks up, whenever it picks up, how many movies have have already been filmed and shown or
yeah,
premiered? Like whenever it picks up, what are going to be his motives and where we're going to pick up at? Because that's going to tell me everything I need to know about this particular character and his development. But man,
right.
I
Because it's
thought they were
always
going
in
to.
the back of your
Okay.
no. Finish your quote, and I'll say.
Oh, it was kind of leading to something else. It wasn't really.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
was I was gonna say, in the back of your mind, you always think because what we saw Loki over the past 10 years and however many
Mm-hmm.
movies, there's always that Loki like in the back
The
of the
self.
mind. He's out for him. So
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe, Dane, when you talk about his conviction, you talk about the way he was acting towards Sylvie, saying he's completely changed. I actually believe him, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe this is a completely different Loki that we've seen, obviously in the other movies. And obviously we won't know, like you had mentioned, there's going to be so many projects between now and season 2 of Loki. And Loki, I think, is expected to show up in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But
Yeah.
the crazy question, and now that we can't even call it the MCU, we got to call it the MCM now because it's the
The multiverse.
Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. But if Loki is showing up in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it
Mm-hmm.
might not even be this Loki that we've seen in this show. Because if they go into the multiverse,
Oh.
it could be a Loki that we know previously as the evil Loki. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't want to put
it's
it.
so many
I don't want to
questions
put this in
coming
a
up as
box.
far.
I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say to you, my friend. My advice to you, bruh, is not to put this into a box and not limit the abilities and the knowledge of one Doctor Strange. Um, we saw or we have seen just how impressive he is when he has time to study and the limits to his knowledge or the I guess you could say there aren't any limits to his knowledge. I gotta figure out a way to reword that. I'll come back to that. But I don't think we should I don't think we should underestimate Doctor Strange in this for being able to run into Loki in some way, shape, or fashion. Or we've had yeah, what was that? Thor? Was that the third Thor?
Yeah. The
Ragnarok
Ragnarok.
that Loki and Doctor Strange cross paths briefly, it was like maybe 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. 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 Because they were
I
looking for
don't
Odin.
yeah, I don't think this is going to be the last interaction we've seen from that particular Loki, which is of course eventually going to be the Loki that we saw at the conclusion of the Loki series. So this particular variant, there's way too much on the table for them not to bring him into the limelight again. But who knows with Marvel, anyways. But you said something about Sylvie that stuck with me, or we talked about Loki's his basically his development as a character, assuming that he found conviction in the final moments of the episode. The way that Sylvie acted, that's the way that we would have anticipated Loki reacting. And if you think
Good point.
about it, obviously she hasn't had enough screen time, nowhere near as much as Loki has in the MCU in its entirety. So of course the expectation should be a little bit tempered with her. But if we're looking at it on an even playing field, she really didn't go through much of a development from the first time when we saw her to, of course, the last moment we saw her. She's
Right.
still kind of working out some things. And obviously, she's going to regret the mistake that she made. And in due time, I'm pretty sure we'll see how that ends for her. But I don't think it's going to be good at all for her, specifically when we
Yeah.
see the wrath that the other more evil versions of He Who Remains come through. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
It's funny. People are coming with these memes that are so funny. One was the picture of Jimmy Butler in the NBA Finals where he's so tired,
Leaning over
talking
the
about with
table.
his head down.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they
yeah.
said this is gonna be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness because he has to deal with all these, like the multiverse
The
breaking and all these
chaos.
different timelines going crazy. Man, I cannot wait for that movie. Uh, one funny question, Dane: who
What's
messed
up?
up more, Star Lord in Infinity War or Sylvie stabbing He Who Remains at the end of Loki?
Mm.
Because you got Star Lord, you had Thanos trapped, basically about to get the gauntlet off to stop, the snap from happening, but he gets into his feelings and emotions and snaps
Look,
and breaks the little
I'm gonna say
trance they
I'm
had
gonna
on
say
Thanos.
Sylvie. I'm gonna say Sylvie, and I'm gonna say this because Kang the Conqueror, he's gonna make Thanos look like a preschool teacher. Is how horrific and maniacal this man is. So with her unleashing an infinite amount of these variants, we're going to see hundreds. Well, I don't think there'll be hundreds, but we're going to see plenty of different versions of this particular manifestation of Kang and the evil that he brings with him. So with that being said, we knew what Thanos' goal was: is to wipe out half of existence. Now, essentially, what could have taken place? Sylvie might have been one of those individuals that was wiped out in that particular half before Endgame, and then of course after Endgame, everyone was brought back. So let's just say that for this particular the question that you asked, let's say Sylvie. Sylvie was worse. She
Sylvie.
she made the worst decision, in my opinion, because we know what Thanos was. We know what he was capable of doing. We have no idea what we're going to see with this King the Conqueror and all these other variants that are on the way,
Yeah.
or correction, the variants that have already happened.
And you see Marvel laying the groundwork for the multiverse as far as um leaving you in a cliffhanger on that and seeing everything going crazy. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you can see they're setting up different projects combining because we talked about the Fox deal coming into effect when all the
Boy,
X-Men characters are they're setting up that stage where we're gonna
we
see
gonna get the
eventually the
mute. We
X-Men
gonna get the
yeah,
mutants. Is what you're saying?
the
We gonna get the
mutants at
mutants.
one point. Deadpool is coming. We seen that little promo with Deadpool and
And
Korg.
Korg, that was
He's
cool.
basically
That
in
was
the
cool.
MCU. It's about to get wild. But
Yeah,
before we go on, man, one thing I wanted to bring to light was freaking Jonathan Majors' performance. He
bro.
carried that episode so well. And did you ever watch Lovecraft Country?
Yeah. We watched it. That's
See,
he
I
doesn't
never
know this,
got to
but
watch it.
the wife is definitely number one in his fan club. She loves her some majors. So he like he had me convinced that he was a legit evil genius, because
Yeah,
his character, of course, being as knowledgeable as he is and from the future, just a man, of course, but he just, has access to limitless technology. But he,
yeah. The way he
bro,
just took over
bro,
that entire episode, like on the edge of my seat, like
bro,
his performance, like the way he articulated certain things, his
mm-hmm. The
humor with
mannerisms,
everything, mannerisms, like
just the
complete
over top,
control.
just over the
Oh,
top, like the arrogance too. The arrogance was a
right,
plus because we've seen arrogance in different forms from plenty of the villains across the MCU, but not in that sense of I know what's going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it, and I'm going to tell you what's going on type of deal. Like that's
right,
a different type of genius, but I'm ready, man. I am ready.
man. Definitely excited for the future of Marvel Studios. We got the next show is going to be What If in August, which I mean, who knows? I think we talked about What If a little bit last
Mm-hmm.
episode with the trailer, but with the ending of this episode or this series with Loki and seeing the multiverse, I am on the train that What If is gonna be canon and it's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
a part of this
Definitely.
multiverse. It just has to be. I don't know what capacity they're going to bring in, like with because it's it's animation, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's gonna be canon. It's gonna be one of those different branches where everything is that way. So I I do not know what to expect with Marvel, but at completely the same time, I'm happy in the fact that I don't know. And so, uh, with what Kevin Feige and everyone at Marvel has done so far, I'm happy with. And with the finale, Dane, I we talked about it last episode. I
Mm-hmm.
still have Loki at the top as far as the three shows that came out, and I think I sent out this tweet because I'd been watching some other videos as far as um what like the placement of Loki because originally after Endgame or the Infinity Saga they wanted Falcon and the Winter Soldier to be the first show to come out and then
Mm-hmm.
WandaVision and then Loki and now with seeing all three shows that kind of makes sense because
We know why Loki was going to be the final hitter,
right
the heavy
and
hitter. I
then
mean,
Falcon because my reasoning was Falcon and the Winter Soldier deals with like one of the main theme or one of the many themes deals with everything that happened post blip, like with everyone coming back from Endgame. WandaVision deals a little bit with the magic, and at the end we see her being a Nexus being and potentially diving into multiverse stuff, and Loki kind of just blows it out the water, opening that door that WandaVision kind of creaked open. And I think with the first two shows, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision, everything dealing with COVID kind of took kind of what they really wanted as far as a complete project out of it. And I think that's why Loki ended up being the best show, because I feel like it was one of the shows where they were able to make it exactly how they wanted from beginning to end.
In due time, we gonna find out.
We gonna find out, man. But let us know what you think, guys. Did you enjoy the Loki series? Where do you rank it with the other shows that we've seen from Marvel? What do you expect with What If? Just let us know. Add us, tweet us, whatever, and we will get back to you on your reactions.
It's arguing time.